Eric Adams, you have failed this city.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati, the man who rules the world, takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. New York Mayor Eric Adams decided to meet some alleged drug dealers who were running a drug bazaar at a Burger King in Fulton Street in Manhattan.
We're learning new details about a meeting between Mayor Eric Adams held with alleged drug dealers and at a Burger King described as a drug bazaar near City Hall. The New York Post is reporting on it over the weekend. A spokesperson for City Hall says the mayor stopped by the fast food location to assess the situation himself following a complaint. He says the mayor will not tolerate any activity that endangers the safety of New Yorkers.
Now, according to the New York Post, New York Mayor Eric Adams decided to go to the Burger King on Fulton Street down the street from City Hall due to a complaint that was lodged as related to alleged loitering and individuals selling drugs and using the dining area as an alleged drug supermarket. Now, this complaint comes on the heels of a lawsuit from a resident who lives in that area who filed a lawsuit because they said that this whole Burger King on Fulton Street, which had been there for a good, 30 to 35 years, had been turned into a location where drug dealers were peddling their wares inside the dining area of that Burger King. Now, Eric Adams decided to bring a contingent of his staff and police officers to that Burger King to meet with the individuals who were loitering inside of the dining area of that Burger King. And as he went to meet with these individuals for an hour, he offered many of those individuals jobs and possibly explained the policies as related to loitering inside of that restaurant. Now, this whole approach seems to be completely unorthodox, and it seems to be one that is done, like the mayor believes, out of compassion. However, when I look at this entire approach that the mayor is using, it basically shows him coming from a position of weakness. And it's coming from a position of weakness because it's clear to me that Eric Adams has no understanding of the unwritten social rules of men. Now, when it comes to men, when a man goes to a group of individuals, what he's doing is sending an indirect message to that group of individuals that they have some sort of power. And when Eric Adams decided to go meet with these individuals at that Burger King on Fulton Street, who were allegedly selling drugs outside of that Burger King, what he was doing was sending a message to all of those individuals at that location that they had more power than he did. Because when a leader goes to meet with someone, what he's doing is sending a message to those people that they are somebody he needs to take seriously. But Eric Adams didn't understand this, and what he did was send a message to those drug dealers that they were more serious than the constituents of New York, because when he went to go meet with them, he was sending a message to them that they were people he needed to be taking serious, instead of sending a message to these drug dealers that they were someone that they considered to be a threat, by sending representatives like police officers to deal with these individuals by arresting them. Because that would be the message that a strong leader would send, that, oh, I heard that there's guys selling drugs at this Burger King across the street from City Hall, and the message that would be sent is to those individuals that they would not disrespect the authority of the mayor by going and participating in crime across the street from him, by sending officers to arrest these individuals for one, loitering and trespassing, and two, sending a message that these individuals and their behavior would not be tolerated by establishing a hard boundary by showing the authority of the leadership of the executive branch of the city of New York. That would be the approach used by a strong leader who understood the position of power. Unfortunately, since Eric Adams does not understand the position of his office or the power of his office, he took the beta position. And as he took the beta position, what he did was send an indirect message to all of those drug dealers that they did not need to respect him as a leader or an authority figure. Now, I believe he's coming from a position of weakness because when it comes to a strong leader, when a strong leader deals with situations of individuals violating boundaries, what they do is set a line to let people know where the boundary is as related to the line in the sand. And that's not what Eric Adams did here with these individuals who were right across the street from him, participating in an alleged drug supermarket in one of the highest end areas of New York City, because the area of City Hall is not that far from Wall Street. And to have individuals loitering inside of a Burger King, participating in a drug supermarket, that's an embarrassment to the city. But what's even more embarrassing is the approach that Eric Adams used to deal with these individuals who were clearly possibly committing crimes not too far from City Hall in Lower Manhattan. Because to have individuals who are participating in crime right down the street from City Hall and the mayor giving a really weak approach to dealing with them, that really shows that the city really has no strong leadership as related to dealing with crime here in New York City. Because if a group of individuals can go and open up a drug supermarket inside of a Burger King not too far from City Hall, that shows that City Hall really doesn't have a handle on crime. And the reason why it doesn't have a handle on crime is because the mayor, who is a former police officer, has no real understanding of how to set boundaries in order to maintain a strong quality of life. Now, when it comes to a mayor, he has to understand that when people go out here and participate in this kind of behavior, what they are doing is flagrantly disrespecting your authority and disrespecting your leadership. And the only way to set a hard boundary is with an aggressive approach like that was used of former Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Now, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani, if he were to have heard about a situation like this, he definitely would have brought a swarm of officers down to that Burger King and used those officers to basically shut that entire business down until an investigation could be done to find out what was going on. Or he would have used some undercover officers to make some purchases before doing a raid, setting a hard boundary to let people know that they would not disrespect the mayor by going out here and opening up a drug supermarket right down the street from City Hall. But Eric Adams' whole approach, it was not really one that was strong to send a message to these individuals about boundaries, and what that did was basically send a message to criminals all across the city that they would not be punished for going out here and participating in criminal behavior. No, what they would get is the same type of dysfunctional approach that is used by many school teachers in the Department of Education to deal with out-of-control kids who come from single-mother households. And what Eric Adams is doing is scaling up the same type of enabling that happens with kids who act out in class these days in public schools. What happens is if a kid acts out in class, what they do is get rewarded with cookies and the ability to watch YouTube and TV shows. And that type of approach doesn't encourage a person to stop participating in criminal behavior. No, all it does is enable that individual to believe that they will be rewarded for participating in bad behavior. That's what Eric Adams did when he went to visit these individuals and go to meet with them. He basically told those people that they didn't need to respect the authority of the mayor's office, and by offering them jobs, basically went out here and let them know that he is somebody they don't need to respect, because they can get an offer of a job. Meanwhile, an individual like myself, who has been unemployed for over 15 years, if I go and put in an application for a job at the city, I don't get anything heard back. And again, this type of response rewards individuals for participating in dysfunctional behavior like selling drugs, and encourages them to believe that if they sell drugs, they will get, one, attention from the mayor, and two, rewarded with support from the mayor in a job that many of these individuals would have no interest in getting, because these individuals, again, they really, a lot of them do not want to work because they don't understand how to function on a job. This is something I learned when I was working for the Strive Job Readiness Workshop. As somebody who worked at the Strive Job Readiness Workshop, I learned about how many of these individuals were ex-offenders. They aren't job ready. So Eric Adams' whole approach to offering them a job, that just really was one that just again came from weakness, and it comes across as extremely disingenuous, because Eric Adams clearly knows that these individuals who are loitering in that Burger King really don't have any sort of skills or qualifications to be able to do any job for the city. So he knows that these individuals have no qualifications to do any sort of job, and they have no sort of job readiness because these individuals have no work ethic, because if they're loitering in a Burger King and using it as a drug supermarket, then these individuals definitely don't know how to work. No, they know how to hustle. And sadly, what we've got here in the case of Eric Adams is a hustler trying to out-hustle hustlers and running some jive like he's trying to be someone who is looking to make it look like he cares about these individuals. But in actuality, all he's showing is how disingenuous he is with this approach. But the sad part is that he's so backwards, he can't see how this approach really shows how incompetent a leader he is. And it shows how incompetent a leader he is because a leader doesn't just go down with individuals who are violating, one, the law as related to loitering inside of this fast food restaurant, and two, individuals who have the audacity to participate in criminal behavior. When you go meet with these individuals and go talk to them, again, that's not a sign of leadership. No, that's a sign that you are a weak leader coming from a position of weakness, because you going down to them is showing them that they have the power and you have no power at all. No, a person who's in a position of authority doesn't go down to meet with local drug dealers to negotiate with them. No, a leader who is aware of their authority, what they do is send law enforcement officers to arrest these individuals, and they send law enforcement officers to arrest these individuals to let them know that they have, one, violated the law, two, that they are not going to disrespect the leaders of that city by going right down the street from City Hall to sell their wares, and three, let those individuals know that the law is the standard of that area. Now, Eric Adams says he follows the law, but this wasn't following the law. You have people who had to file civil lawsuits against a Burger King to get relief as related to the damage to the quality of life, and that really shows the failure of leadership, because a leader would have nipped this in the bud, and they would have nipped it in the bud with the anti-crime unit doing an undercover sting on these guys, and they also would have asked the question, okay, why is this guy loitering here? I mean, any beat cop would have asked the question, okay, why are these guys sitting here when the time limit for consuming food in a fast food restaurant and is only 30 minutes. And one of my family members went to the High School of Economics and Finance in that area a while back, so I know that Burger King gets a lot of turnover, because it used to be a very busy spot before COVID, and it really shows how bad the business area has declined, because the quality of life in that area has declined, and it's declining because of the failure of leadership of the previous mayor, Bill de Blasio, who implemented all of these dysfunctional far-left policies, and the current prosecutor, Alvin Bragg, who refuses to prosecute these individuals, and the mayor, who basically shows that he is completely clueless as related to leadership, because as part of the executive branch, it's his job to enforce the law, not try to negotiate with individuals as related to their criminal behavior, because when you negotiate with criminals just like you negotiate with children, it gives them power, and when you give a child power, they don't have the responsibility to know how to handle it, similar to the way that the criminal has no understanding of the responsibility of the power that they have, and all that does is encourage that person to feel emboldened to participate in more criminal behavior, because they believe that they will possibly get more attention from the executive branch, who would reward them with more offers to make them possibly stop doing what they're doing. But all that's doing is incentivizing them to do even more, and again, showing the weakness of Eric Adams, and it makes everyone in New York who voted blue, no matter who, you really need to rethink who you're voting for, because if the ex-cop can't get crime under control, then it's time to get somebody who knows what leadership is, because it's clear to me that Eric Adams is one of these incompetents who basically got pushed through different jobs because he knew how to talk a good game, knew how to shuck and jive, but didn't know how to run a city, and doesn't understand that part of running a city is enforcing the law, because if somebody's in one of your big business districts and running a drug supermarket, then you've got to shut that down, because while you're talking about congestion pricing, the whole thing is you're going to drive out all of those individuals if they see open air supermarkets for guys selling drugs and selling weed and all this sorts of junk. I mean, that's going to destroy the quality of life for that area. And again, as a longtime New Yorker, I remember when that was considered one of the best areas for New York as related to retail and shopping. I mean, not too far from Wall Street. And when you've got a bunch of pookies out here selling dope, allegedly, in a Burger King where people used to go get their lunch and go, that really shows that there's a real problem with the leadership of the city, and that no one respects the authority of Eric Adams, because Eric Adams basically doesn't respect himself, because he's a follower and he looks to lick the boots, because that's what the cream of wheat man wants to do. He doesn't see the job of running New York City as important. No, for him, it's just another stop on a way to getting to another job, because like he was the heads of the 100 blacks in law enforcement, then became a guy who was the Brooklyn borough president, and now is the mayor of New York. He's got his eyes on higher office, but doesn't have his eyes on the job that needs to be done. And that's why I say that this whole situation is a troubling one, because politicians who really care about the city, they don't go to meet with gangs, they don't go meet with drug dealers. Again, that's a position of weakness. That's giving criminals power. And if you'll give criminals power, you have to wonder if this guy is corrupt, because only a corrupt individual would go and meet with individuals from criminal enterprise, because any good mayor or any good member of a administration, they're looking to shut these individuals down, because the proper response for dealing with a person who has an alleged drug supermarket or a gang going on is to put those people in jail, and put them in jail and let them know where the line is as related to the standards for life here in New York City. And that's not what Eric Adams is doing, and again, it's showing the weakness of his leadership. I mean, the migrant crisis basically showed us that he is incapable of managing a fiscal situation, and the jab mandate he put in place shows he couldn't handle an economic situation, and the whole situation with the subways being out of control show that he cannot really manage crime, and this situation further exacerbates the problem, showing us that many New Yorkers really need to think before they vote, and they have to get past identity politics because, yes, you elected your second black mayor, but like the first one, David Dinkins, this second black mayor is proving to be even more incompetent because he's been elected based on race but not on skill, because any smart mayor would have understood that open-air supermarket of alleged drug dealing is a disrespect directed at him, and he needed to shut that down with arrest of these individuals who were loitering as related to a loitering charge, and then further, if they could get an investigation going on, possibly go out here and get these guys on federal drug charges and let everybody know that this kind of behavior wouldn't be tolerated because it destroys the quality of life in New York City, a city that is getting worse with every day and is really starting to resemble the city I grew up in the dark days of the 1970s, 1980s, and early 1990s, because the leadership is just as dysfunctional and backwards as the Abe Beame, Ed Koch, and David Dinkins administrations, who all follow a certain political party, and that political party has basically created chaos, which allows these children of the corn to believe that they could nest and root inside of a Burger King and sell their wares. I mean, that's the type of leadership we have here that decides it's going to go out here and try to negotiate with children of the corn who have no understanding of boundaries, no understanding of structure, and any deal you make will be altered because they don't follow your terms, because they don't respect authority or authority figures. No, that's why negotiating with them is the wrong way to go. No, you have to set a hard line in the sand for individuals like this to understand what the law is. And again, for a mayor who says he follows the law, he clearly wasn't following the law as related to this whole case, and it made New York City just that less safer. Now, if you want to pick up some of my positive black fiction, which shows you strong black leadership in books like The Temptation of John Haynes, where you can see a black CEO who is competent using power, you can pick up that book in paperback and Kindle format on Amazon.com. And you can also find it in audiobook on Amazon.com, along with other books in the John Haynes series. You can find many of the John Haynes series books which show you a strong example of black male leadership and black masculinity on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Smith Ashworth's Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Target. And if you'd like to see me making more videos taking the cream of wheat man to the barbecue for his incompetent leadership, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS, Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available on Lulu. John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at Lulu.com today. Support black-owned and black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.